On June 29th, this amazing clock in the sky has Mercury going retrograde and a full moon in Capricorn. With Capricorn ruling over your career and your contribution to the collective, the only question worth asking right now is, what do you need to start doing differently at work? Okay, I don't know if you realize this, and I know I've talked about this before, but Mercury retrograde this year, every single one is happening in a water sign. And not once in all of these Mercury retrogrades for 2026 does Mercury fall into a different sign. That's why it stays in water. It is one watery year. So as we consider this upcoming week, we have a couple puzzle pieces that we need to put together. We have Mercury retrograde, which I always feel can be summed up in one quote, the famous quote, "The definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again, expecting different results." And then we have this other puzzle piece that it happens in water, that literally every retrograde is happening in water, the element of intuition and boundaries. And then the topper, the cherry on our cosmic sundae, is that the Mercury retrograde happens the same day as the Capricorn full moon. Capricorn rules your career. It rules over your necessary contribution as a citizen of the universe. AKA Capricorn says everybody contributes. Everybody has something to give. So if we put all these puzzle pieces together, I'm sitting with this and I'm saying, okay, what does it mean, right? That's the whole point, is trying to figure out what are these symbols, what do these ideas mean when we synthesize them together. And I think we're looking at a place within everyone about their career, but maybe not in the way you think of career. I'm talking about your unique individual contribution that the collective needs. And the week is about not being swallowed up and drowned by water. Well, it's more than a week. It's the next 3 weeks of Mercury retrograde is about not being swallowed up by water, not losing your sense of self, not losing your boundaries, your sovereignty. So it's asking, where do you emotionally have to build and draw that line in the sand? I think the water piece is what really, I just cannot escape this week, and I wanted to go deeper into, because water is powerful. I mean, all of the elements are. I don't think one is better or worse than the others, but fire, earth, air, water is the last, okay? And I feel like water is this glue. It's this interconnection. It is very, very powerful. And I imagine with all the Mercury retrogrades and water element, that we're looking at a collective thing. And water is so attuned to emotional intelligence, but it isn't born that way, right? So water isn't just naturally emotionally intelligent because it's water. It's just that it has the capacity for emotional intelligence. And if you build it, you can grow it when you have strong water. But just because you have strong water, so let's say you have strong water in your chart, let's say you're a Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces or whatnot, doesn't mean you naturally understand how to handle that power, right? It isn't born that way. And so there's this awakening for each element. There's a water awakening that each of us go through. And in water, it's about learning about emotions personally, externally, and walking through the missteps. And the missteps, I think, is what's important to us in a year that's as watery as it is. Now, newborn water, right? So baby water has the gift but doesn't know how to claim it or use it, has strong levels of what they view as emotional intelligence. And that usually sounds like, they're able to feel everything in the room. They're very attuned to what other people are doing. They're very sensitive. They're a highly sensitive person. Water is sensitive. It feels feelings very well, very fast, and very loudly. And when water is a baby, or when water's on the path of awakening in the beginning, they use that as a gift. They get so good at feeling other people's feelings that it becomes their gift and their curse, right? Because an unawakened gift is when it still is your gift and your curse and your burden. An awakened gift is when it is only your gift. You've learned about the burden. You're able to handle and understand the gift for what it is, that it is both things, right? So if you think of water being the ability to feel, be aware of other people's emotions in a heightened way. But then the teenage years is when it goes ugly. It's when now you feel responsible for those emotions. Now you can't not feel other people's emotions. Now you can't control it anymore. You know, at the beginning, it's fun. Ooh, I can feel other people's emotions. Ooh, I can give words to what other people are going through. And then all of a sudden, you're on the hook. You're supposed to give words to everything they're feeling, and they don't know what they're feeling, and you're drowning in water. I mean, that's what water is, right? And it's that teenage years is when the gift and the burden are one. And unfortunately, and you'll know this for all water signs, is when they're in that phase, they tend to isolate, need to pull back and disconnect from everyone and everything to find their ground, because they can't control their feeling body, feeling other people's feeling bodies, and literally like everything is alive and sensitive to them in a way that's overwhelming. Now, this is my own interpretation of what happens when water awakens, though I would imagine most people would protest this. But I believe that as water awakens, at first it thinks it has very high emotional intelligence because it's aware of other people's emotions. But I don't see many people with strong water being aware of their own, right? It's almost like there's this exchange of, well, I am paying so close attention to everybody else that I actually lost the attention on my own emotional body. That disconnection, that loneliness, that feeling is in there. There is no law in the sky, law in heaven. There is no law that says you are supposed to think for others, feel for others, or behave for others. Do you understand? This is the trouble. It's unlearning that you're supposed to feel, think, and understand what's going on everybody's perspective at every moment, at all times. To awaken on the water element is to give that all back, is to say, you think for you, you have a right to think whatever you want. You feel for you, you have a right to feel whatever you want. You behave for you, you have a right to behave however you want. Giving that all back is a part of the awakening. It's the same awakening across fire, earth, air, and water. By the way, it's just in different ways. So with Mercury RX, in water element, there is this point of no longer personalizing what other people think, feel, or behave. Because why do you actually have to know? I mean, that's the question. Like, why do you actually have to know? Like, can't people have some privacy? Can't people, like, if people get to feel, think, behave, whatever they want, it's irrelevant. Right? Even the people that you're closest to, they're allowed. They're going to have ups and downs. They're going to have all arounds. Their feelings are going to change. Their thinking is going to change. Their behaviors are going to change. Not in charge of any of it. You're not in charge of any of it. And that is that part. That is where, you realize, oh my God, when I say you need to set a boundary in water, I'm not telling you to set a boundary for other people. I'm telling you to set it for yourself. You don't create boundaries for other people. You create boundaries for yourself. And that's awakened water. Because awakened water, awakened fire, awakened earth, but specifically water for the emotional boundaries, is realizing that you don't have any control over any other being but yourself. So you can't make boundaries and laws for other people. You make them for your fucking self. And so where right now does that need to be built? Where do you need a simple boundary that you could just write that out and know that it is true for yourself? And I suspect that wherever Mercury is retrograding, wherever Capricorn Full Moon is happening in your birth chart, wherever those transits fall, I obviously do not know what is happening in your chart. But the AI prompt this week, go ahead and cut and paste it in, add the natal chart navigator, and look to see what it says. I've given it a very specific prompt to help you walk this out and understand where you might build a natural boundary for yourself. Move this water into a very awakened place. Now, just a heads up, the podcast is taking a break until next season on July 17th. There will be no podcast episodes over the next couple weeks. We will start with the next season on July 17th. All right? Go deep into your chart and enjoy what the cosmos is saying. I'll see you in a couple weeks. Bye.